welcome. I'm so pleased that you're here today to join, or tonight, wherever you are. We're very happy that so many people from different parts of the world are joining us for this very special webinar. This is just a taste of what's to come in the International Conference on Thinking in July. And today, well, probably best if I go to housekeeping first and then talk a little bit more about today's session. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing within 24 hours and will be available until Friday, the 2nd of April, 2021, 4 p.m. So it gives everyone a chance to see it, whether you're rushing home from work or getting up in the morning or wherever you are. A link will be shared once the recording is available for viewing. Today's webinar will last 45 minutes, including 10 minutes for questions. All participants will be muted to allow Kieran to present uninterrupted. While viewing the live screen, you can click and drag on the top bar of the video window to move it around the screen, as well as click and drag the bottom right-hand corner to resize the window. Questions can be asked via Ask a Question, via the Ask a Question tab, and you can either submit your question or like an existing question, which will put it to the top of the list. Any unanswered questions will be answered by Kieran and shared via email post-event. I'm so happy to introduce Kieran to you. I've seen him working with students and teachers for several years and know that everything he says is real and authentic and help children see what is possible with technology. And I'm so pleased you'll have the opportunity to hear and see Kieran again in July at the ICOT. He's a keynote speaker there with so much to share. He's an educational technologist at Wooranna Park Primary School in Victoria, Australia, and more than once he's been voted in the Educator Online Top 50 Individuals in Australia. And he does truly represent educational excellence. Today's topic is to provide you an experience firsthand of the future of learning, and so much in line with the theme for the conference, the future begins today. Whatever we're doing today is actually taking steps towards shaping the future, and we so want to shape the future we'd like to see. And Kieran and I are now sitting in the STEAM Centre at Wooranna Park, and we're in a room now that's so soundproofed, and there's a lot more to the STEAM Centre than this room, and in videos being taken. You'll see more about this later on the website and in July. But today you'll find a little bit more about how students have opportunities to explore what is possible when technology is incorporated purposefully in their learning. In this webinar, you will learn more about recognising the need to provide a variety of learning opportunities in a culture of trust and respect for your students and their ideas as they explore new ways of learning. Because just like all of us, we can be a little anxious when we're doing new things or might be afraid we do something wrong. But if they know they're trusted and can explore, that makes such a difference too, that all their ideas are valued. And also encouraging open-mindedness and flexibility, knowing all our students as well as us will be facing so many changes as we all grow. How other schools can replicate whatever they choose from what you see and hear in this webinar, you can implement, and Wooranna Park is an open source model. Their ideas are shared willingly without charges or appointments and formal things. Just a simple phone call can organise to just find out more, to just reinforce what you're learning and what you can do with the facilities that you have already. And this has all grown so much because Wooranna Park, under the visionary leadership of Ray Trotter, has given people an opportunity to develop their own skills and share them with others, just as Kieran has with the staff here and with all the children for many years. So having that trust and leadership support makes all the difference. Now, I'm not going to talk anymore because I want you to hear from Kieran himself, and I'll hand straight over to Kieran. Kieran, it's all yours.
Thanks, Karen. Alrighty. So I've got a lot of content to get through, so I'll go as quickly as possible, and hopefully we can sort of get to everything. But I wanted to give everyone a bit of a taste of some of the stuff that's happening at the school so that we can explore that at the conference later on. This is a bit of an overshot of all the different publications that our school's been mentioned in, everything from the George Lucas Foundation to Education Changemakers and Australian Teacher Magazine and Immersive Education over in the States, like some really amazing articles that people have put together, and there's lots of stuff online that you can check out. I've presented all over the world, different conferences, and met lots of people. And probably the most fun I've had at a conference was with a bunch of students where we actually presented at Minecon together, which is the big Minecraft conference a number of years ago, and we actually won the whole competition there, which was fantastic. So bit of background about my school. So Wooranna Park Primary School is based on the philosophy of a number of educators, but the one that sort of strikes resonance most with me is Sugata Mitra and his work with the computer in the wall. So in the sort of slums of India and a bunch of other countries, he's developed spaces where students can create their own curriculum that's not so didactic as, you know, sort of most classrooms are, where you have sort of a teacher standing in front of the room kind of pretending to know everything. The research that he's done around that, we've kind of built that out at our school as well. So we don't have traditional classrooms, like I said, with, you know, rows of students and someone standing at the front of the room kind of yelling at students. We have what we call learning communities, where we have open spaces and stimulated learning platforms, where basically instead of a classroom setting, we have, like in the year 2 unit, a big dragon boat where kids can walk up into the dragon boat and use gesture-based controls to fly around Google Earth, or a big spaceship in the year 3 unit, the Enigma portal, which is a classroom that I work in a lot, and the STEAM Center that I'm sitting in now, which is a student-centric space built out of shipping containers, which has been really cool. We're also agnostic across the school, which I think is really important from students from a young age to be exposed to a number of technologies, like whatever you can sort of get for your school. But I think that having that from a young age, so whether it's, you know, Linux devices or Android devices or Raspberry Pis or iOS, Windows, everything, I think do what you can and then let the students choose what they're most comfortable with, sort of moving into a BYOD environment. So a bit of background to this space that we're in now. Going back to 2014, actually even before that, back to 2012, I actually ran a Bitcoin program at my previous school for a group of year 10s. And we called it a Bit Gigs model, where the kids upskilled themselves and then earned Bitcoin online. And I found it really exciting that there was like this new currency online that students could earn and learn at the same time. So when I came back to Melbourne and started at this school, I asked the principal if he'd like to be Australia's first like official Bitcoin school. And he said yes, and then what's that? And basically we sent away to 2 universities, one over in Greece and one in the UK, to donate enough to buy some Raspberry Pis for the kids here. So Raspberry Pis are like mini computers, like this thing here. But basically, yes, we got the equivalent of like $60 just to demonstrate that from one side of the world to the other, people could buy computers for school kids, which is really exciting. But at the time, the bursar at our school, who we've got a really cool one now, but the one then was a bit of a dragon lady. She didn't like it whatsoever. She's like, "What is this? Like full robot?" Contacted the department. Department said, "No, you can't spend that money because we don't understand what it is." So literally, because they didn't have financial literacy, we couldn't buy computers for school children, which blows my mind to this day. But to the principal, Ray's credit, we kept asking the department, "Can we spend it? Can we spend it? Can we spend it?" And obviously, because it's deflationary instead of inflationary, we could buy a lot more Raspberry Pis by the time they said yes, which was a number of years later. And around that time, we had a visitor to the school. Like as Karen alluded to, we have thousands of visitors every year coming through the school, and we're all open source, so we share everything. So I didn't really think much of it. It's someone at the blockchain center at the time said, "Go check out Kieran's school. We really like it." So we did. Spent the day, stayed after school as well. I was like, "Wow, this guy really likes the school." And he said, "Dude, this is the best school I've ever seen. I've been to 500 schools across the US, donating little bits here and there. I want to give you guys 21 Bitcoins to build that learning space you're talking about. So it was a bit more of an issue with the department then, because it wasn't, $250 like we got initially for the Raspberry Pis. It was enough to build a whole learning space, which ended up being quite positive, because what we got to do in building this open source space was flip it. So instead of it going to teachers or myself or the principal to decide how the funds were allocated, we actually used another blockchain mechanism to do authenticated voting. So basically, if you've ever done like a Survey Monkey or something like that, which are fine, but they're kind of centralized, so you can't really trust the data on them. With a blockchain voting system, you can 100% guarantee that who voted for what is who they say they are, sort of thing. So we set up a poll and let the kids decide how we allocated the funds for the space. So building a completely student-centric open source learning space. So this is a bit of an overview of some of the spaces. We've got a VR space with two really high-end virtual reality headsets on either end, and then some other sort of mobile ones throughout the space. We've got a space dedicated to 3D printing. We've got, I think, 4 3D printers now, and one really high-end one that's been fantastic. And we've done a number of projects with that I'm going to go into. We've got this space here, so the podcasting space that we've done some really amazing stuff. A lot of streaming of Minecraft as well, because we've got a 24/7 learning space in Minecraft that the kids really resonate with, and then being able to project what they're doing through this space has been fantastic as well. We've got a game making space. So it was actually started out as an engineering block, and we ended up, the kids voted on getting like Mario Game Maker and a bunch of really fun things. So we turned it into a game making hub, but I'll go into that further later. So we do a lot of PBL at school, particularly in this learning space, so project-based learning. I'll go through some of the projects. This is one just recently. It's probably one of my favorite things I've seen in years, really, where we had all these old parts that we were about to dump. And some of the tech ninjas, as we call them in the school, decided to upcycle the whole lot. So they've actually built a Frankenstein PC with like one of those old school monitors that we're about to throw out as well. And it's working, and yeah, the kids love it. It's really interesting because those like old monitors, you don't really see them anymore. All the younger kids are like obsessed with, with using them for some reason. It's fascinating. We do a lot of 3D printing. So this is a robot hand that it's a second robot hand we've built actually. But this is connected to an Arduino that actually mimics your hand. So Arduino to something called a leap motion. And when you sort of open and close your hand, it replicates that. So that was about a whole year working on that at Coder Dojo, but really fun. This space here, so this is something really exciting actually. Like in the game making space, the kids actually built 2 of their own gaming consoles. So one from like a Raspberry Pi, so one of the Raspberry Pis that we got, into a Nintendo case, and they built their own Nintendo. And the other one in the corner there, using one of those old screens again, they built something with, what's it called, RetroArch, where you can basically build your own gaming console and do it in a fashion where you can actually import your own ROMs. So the crux of it was we had a whole group of kids building Game Boy games. Have you ever had like an old school Game Boy from the 80s or early 90s? You can actually develop games for that now with something called GB Studio. So all the year 4s and 5, 6s now are making their own games that you can actually play. So you can get like a ROM cartridge, chuck it into a Game Boy and start playing. But the really cool thing is all the games that the kids made, they could play on the consoles that they built. So building their own gaming consoles and making their own games to play on their own equipment. So it's not consuming, it's actually creating from the ground up. We do a lot with SmartStone as well. So SmartStone's a company out of Sydney, and we've had their hardware for a number of years. Really love some of the stuff that they've built. In particular, they built out a basically like a scratch program that you could push out to all the headsets that the kids have got strapped on. So basically, if you think about creating like a scratch program, if you've seen Scratch from RMIT, most people have, you can basically create something and then push it out to all 30 headsets, so your friends have seen what you just developed, and it's really easy to use as well, which I really like. With the upcycling stuff as well, we do a lot with something called IPFS. So IPFS is a protocol for the internet that's basically replacing HTTP. And with that, instead of throwing out computers, we decided to build an IPFS cluster. So using all the hard drives out of the computers, actually setting up a cluster of those. And there's heaps of tutorials online. So if any of the stuff out of this, if you want me to go deeper, we got questions at the end, and also for my keynote, I can with the poll, we can sort of go into that as well. Another IPFS cluster. So this is with a whole bunch of Androids on a stick. We actually 3D printed a case for them and got them all set up. So basically what a cluster is a number of computers or hard drives all talking to each other that can have like one file or kind of fragments of a file sort of thing. And that's why IPFS is so powerful. We do a lot with Google Expeditions as well. I dare say we've got probably the most amount of 360-degree photography, particularly from a student perspective at our school. So if you go just Google our school, you'll see a whole bunch of wacky 360-degree shots. But it's really cool because you can make your own Google Expeditions now. So the kids are working on that at the moment. And basically what that means is if you've ever done an expedition before, there's a lot for like, Mount Everest or the International Space Station. Now you can do it for your school. So all those 360-degree photos that we have, we can actually make an expedition of those. Upcycling again. So it's actually a group of year twos, believe it or not, from last year or the year before, where they had a bunch of computers that we were going to throw out. And one of the kids was like, well, can we find a Linux distribution that because we were talking about Linux, and see if we can upcycle them. So we did, and they're still being used today. So they're really old Lenovo's, but with the good Linux distro, it still works. We do a lot with looking at like hardware as well. So AMD versus NVIDIA. So that's the two major graphic cards companies. We actually swapped out a whole lab and did some benchmarking recently, actually. Again, so the kids are always sort of looking at the latest and greatest. So being able to do that with hardware is really powerful for the students. We made a Raspberry Pi lab as well, so it's something called Tinkercad. So the 3D printing space the kids use, mostly Tinkercad because it's probably the easiest software and the most robust, I think, like in terms of being able to design things. But we actually built a Raspberry Pi lab. So all those Raspberry Pis that we got initially, the students designed their own cases and created a whole lab dedicated to that. So that's what it looks like there. But what I loved, actually, my favorite thing was the fact that one of the kids made a dinosaur head into a computer case. Like, I would have never thought that. But the other thing was the fact that because we have that agnostic approach to technology, the kids weren't afraid to sort of look at different distributions for the Raspberry Pis, and we ended up settling on Google, Chrome OS. So Chrome OS, if you know what Chrome OS is, it costs about $300 for a Chrome OS box. These, for about $30 each, we're able to do the same thing with the kids designing their own cases as well. So literally, students building a whole computer lab that's student-centric from the ground up as well. We do a lot with full nodes. So as a photo from the age actually that we're in a number of years ago, but basically a full node is a system that authenticates transactions on a blockchain. So we've built a number of nodes for different blockchains over the years, but probably the two most exciting were the Lightning Network, Lightning Network and the Ethereum blockchain. Heaps of stuff online for that as well. Upcycling again, I might skip. Well, I'll just touch on this. We've got probably the youngest Cisco Academy in the world, I would say, that started back when I started at the school. So if you don't know what Cisco is, it's network engineering, and that's my background. That's what I studied at university. But we've got students here actually doing tertiary level studies as well and helping build the network infrastructure for the school, which is really, really cool. And not just building networks, but also helping with system imaging and maintaining the network as well. So we call those kids tech ninjas. We do a lot with financial literacy as well. So Dogecoin is probably my favorite go-to application that combined with Minecraft is really exciting for the kids. I can go further into that for my keynote as well, if anyone's interested. We also built a game. So this is from last year, sorry, year before, where there was an article up on Mickey about mining, like a game that teaches you how to mine Bitcoin. But I thought, fantastic, that's like the missing piece of the puzzle, because we're not allowed to do that at school because it's, school hardware, government hardware, whatever. But the kids are all excited about learning about it. So now we have a way to sort of learn that in school. So contacting them, say, can we get like some copies of the game, they said, yeah, we can, but the narrative's not really for kids. Like someone's been kidnapped and like you have to earn Bitcoin to get them back. But why don't we make an education edition? So the kids wrote a script, we turned it into a game. It's got my voiceover, it's got Ray, the principal's voiceover in it as well. So if you want to download that, it's on Steam and it's really fun. That's what it looks like there. I won't go into that. We're on an esports program as well. I'll touch on that quickly. Like we did what we call consensus-driven content. So instead of giving a students a test, we thought, well, students are the experts when it comes to gaming, right? So let's flip that on its head and let the kids upvote using the same mechanism we did for voting in the learning space here, where they can vote on the content they want to learn. So what we did is create a test, but the test isn't for students. The test is for teachers to see it written by students and upvoted. So to put it in perspective, the exam that the kids created, I failed the first time. So it was pretty cool. But the really cool thing was we got like 70 schools involved with that, and it was a lot of fun. So before COVID, we had a lot of fun with it. I'll go into that. Skip this. So Web3, this is really important. So Maheen, who is going to be involved with the conference, she actually helped develop the school, or develop the ICOT website. And she's doing a whole bunch of really cool stuff at the moment with Web3 development. So she actually started her own business off the back of this, and she's got people from all over the world like asking her to make websites, including a school in Vietnam, which is really exciting. But I put the obsolete sign over NAPLAN because we literally went this day from the office back to school to NAPLAN testing, like the inverse of learning. It was just amazing to witness in one day. But what I'm just talking about Web3 just briefly. So Web3 is a bit of an overview of that. We're kind of at the end point here where we have all these new technologies coming out now. That's what we're focusing on with the students. And I might skip through some of this. We also, actually, this is worth mentioning. If you want to check out iedspaces.github.io, we've actually built with Aaron Walsh from Immersive Education over in the States a virtual school last year. So using something called A-Frame and Mozilla Hubs, because all the students were in lockdown, we thought, well, let's get together with students over in America. In fact, there's a group that wanted to do their science fair and they couldn't, so we built a virtual space so they could do it in real time. What up? No. So yeah, if you want to check that out, that's all there. I'll skip that. Oh, this is a cool project as well. So last year, myself and Maheen, with questions from the students at school, got to interview the CEO of Library, LBRY, which is a YouTube replacement. So I did that in this space actually. But yeah, basically he's set up a mechanism and Maheen's built a website for a project, lbryproject.github.io. So if you go to that website, you'll see there's a competition for students to create their own videos, so student-centric videos, and whoever makes the best one with the most thumbs up wins the cryptocurrency that's attached to LBRY. So we're quite excited about that. Skip that one. The other thing that we have, actually, we probably can't do audio. Other thing I've been working on that's really exciting is something called rocket shoes. So for the last number of years, we've been building rocket shoes on IPFS, which stands for the Interplanetary File System. So yeah, if you just think of HTTP in your head and replace that with IPFS, it fixes a whole lot of things that are broken with the internet. But we've built this purposely for Google Classroom first, One, because Google has really good APIs, and two, because it's the most widely used LMS. But basically what we're doing is taking all that data and bringing it into a learning wallet. So a learning wallet that's belonged to the student instead of to a third party. So if you think of like, pick your poison, Google, Microsoft, whatever, anytime you interact with any of their cloud systems, or Facebook's a good example, Instagram, you name it, you're uploading to their servers. So your stuff belongs to them. And it's the same with learning management systems. So we're trying to fix that with this new protocol where students own their stuff now and forever. And basically anything, this is what the back end looks like. Anything they upload gets a unique hash, and that hash can be replicated across the whole internet to any sort of device. So that's that's a really cool picture of RPFS running on a whole bunch of devices, phones, whatever. But it kind of gives you the idea of what's possible with this Web3 technology. We also interviewed Namebase CEO, and he's developing something really cool for Web3. So if you check out Namebase, basically it's built on the Handshake blockchain, and it allows you to buy top-level domains. So we've actually bought Wooranna, and this year we're getting the kids to develop their own websites. So it'll be like Wooranna / whatever. But the cool thing is, whoever's name it is, you don't have to have a .com or a .net or a .org or whatever. It's just Wooranna. So you type that in, and then your website comes up. So the students are developing that on something called the SIA blockchain, which is really worth doing a deep dive into if you get time. And Minecraft, we have a 24/7 learning space in Minecraft, like I alluded to before. But we've done everything in there, from literacy to numeracy to geography to history to international art projects, and you name it, we've done it in well. We're actually building the school at the moment in Google Maps. And so we've imported the Google map into Minecraft, and the kids are building the school to scale, which has been fantastic. And the other thing with that is the VR applications for Minecraft. So students are actually developing stuff in world. They can go put on the headset and then walk around a house they just made, or a spaceship they just built, or whatever it is, and it gives that other perspective to the whole world that you wouldn't get without virtual reality. I wanted to include this as well. This is from last year or the year before. We did a conference at St. Aloysius, which is a group of year 10 girls. So I think it was 10 different schools, like one after the other. And I thought none of them would be interested in Minecraft, because that's the narrative that's out there, right? Like girls aren't interested in technology or Minecraft. As soon as I brought up Minecraft, every hand shot up and they were all interested. So I tried to share that as much as possible, just to sort of kill that idea that girls aren't into tech or Minecraft in particular. Wanted to finish with this one, and this is from last year. We had a student that from New South Wales. So I did a conference up in New South Wales, and his teacher contacted me months later and said, do you think you could help Maxwell with his app? As a rural school, middle of nowhere. And the really cool thing is, what I love is the fact that I wasn't at school, so I was working rocket shoes in the city. There was these students in New South Wales, rural New South Wales, and students at Wooranna Park, and we're all connected online. And none of this is to do with any of the legacy curriculum whatsoever. This kid just went on his own and developed this amazing app to track devices in his school, built it for Android on iOS, and we helped debug it and work on it with him, all online. Like, so we didn't need the classroom at all anymore. And I think that's where Education 3.0 is going, and student-centric education in particular. So it doesn't really matter about the space, really, now that we have the technology to sort of facilitate, and I think it's rapidly changing. So I'll leave it at that. Oh yeah, so we've got the upcoming Q&A and polling questions. So stop my. Oh yeah, sure.
just want to say a very big thank you to Kieran. What a wonderful opportunity has been to listen to what is possible with very young children, and not so young, well, it's primary school and elementary school. And it's also important to know that Wooranna Park is in what Australia calls a low socioeconomic status. So these children don't have a lot of opportunities to use devices at home. And they also speak more, there's over 40 different cultures at the school, all with different languages. But look what is possible when there's an environment of trust and opportunity, and children can really have a go at things and find out for themselves what is possible. We so look forward to seeing what you might do between now and July ICOT, from what you've heard from today, and you'll have the opportunity to discuss things with Kieran too, and he'll be so happy to hear from you. And we also want to mention that the beautiful music that you've been hearing today has been played by Rita Reichman, the most wonderful pianist, and she will be also presenting at ICOT this year. Looking forward to seeing you all in July. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Karen. So it looks like I don't think we got any questions. So there's a few questions that we had sort of pre-populated. So let me just bring them up. Unless, did you have a question, Karen? I think you had your own one.
Well, yeah, I just worry about, will parents worry, will their children get opportunities to do these things? Will teachers get the support and training necessary to make these things possible?
Yeah, well, that's a huge thing, I think. Like, particularly, I've got to give props to Ray again for this school, because like our school isn't like other schools where there maybe not the funds allocated or the time allocated to technology or whatever students are interested in. So we have a thing called learning agreement time, and we have industry experts as teachers. So basically what that means is we have full-time robotics teacher, full-time chess teacher, full-time Cisco teacher, full-time technology, ed tech as I am, Minecraft, like the whole gamut of things, but it's not it's not mandated. So it's not, you have to do this at this time. And we have like full-time environmental studies, for example. So not every student's going to be interested in that. But if they are, and they choose to embark on that, then they can. I think that comes down to the leadership of Ray and having sort of the vision to do that. So I think if more schools could adopt that methodology, it'd be a lot easier. But I don't know, I can't see that happening for the vast majority of schools, unfortunately, but we're getting there.
And every step forward counts.
It does. Oh, here we go. So what is your principal? What if your principal is not ready for changes like these? So yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of schools like that. It's really tough. But like I said, it comes down to leadership for the school. So I mean, if you haven't got strong leadership in a school, I can't see parents being interested in that sort of education anymore. So like that whole idea of like teaching to a test and having kids sitting in rows, like parents don't want that anymore. So if the principal is not providing like the education 3.0 as we're calling it, I can't see it lasting very long. How accessible and affordable will the equipment necessary be? For this space, so we try to make things as cheap as possible, really. So like we source things, a lot of secondhand stuff we've got actually, and I think like that's what I wanted to demonstrate with those Raspberry Pis, like, and all the projects we've done with them. They're $30, like they're not expensive, and you can do so many things with them. In fact, there's like thousands of projects that you can do with them, like the kids building their own lab, but also running a node, or even setting up mechanisms for IoT devices. Like we're building a smart classroom at the moment with the Raspberry Pi and Arduino. So what, like 40, $50. We're building a plant, and the plant's in the prep unit, and the plant's going to tell you when it needs to be watered. And like it's not expensive, and it's really fun project you can do. So yeah, it doesn't cost much. All very interesting and exciting, but will teachers have the support needed when introducing new ways of teaching to cover it? I think this is what Karen was alluding to before you. Where do you see the future of education moving? So I think probably I can see this model of education being adopted by a lot of schools. But I think the big thing, and that's why I ended with that Maxwell story, is that students are already taking ownership of their own learning. So it doesn't matter if the schools are interested or not. It's already happening. So the schools are going to have to catch up. I think that's the real key, and they can be anywhere in the world. So with our 24/7 Minecraft class, we've got, I think, 20 different schools from all over the world, and they're all, anytime they want, they can come in and learn with someone from the other side of the world. Like it's fantastic. It's the tech that enables that. Will all children have equal opportunities in learning when more new things are introduced? Yes, I think so. I think, well, the way the world's moving, like I think as of this year, the like was it IBM's knowledge doubling curve? I think we're at every 20 hours or something. It like doubles. It's insane every 24 hours. But I think with that, we need to change the whole concept of learning. So like instead of teaching to a test or teaching to a set curriculum from 50 years ago, it's not going to work anymore. Like and kind of standing in front of the room pretending that you know everything, like it's impossible. I think the the thing that illustrated that the most to me was a number of years ago. There was a website called Listen to Wikipedia that launched, and basically it's Wikipedia, and every time there's an update, it goes ding, 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 and it's like faster and faster as you go. And one of the kids said to me, "Oh my God, how is anyone meant to know everything?" I'm like, "Exactly. Anyone who says they do is a liar." So I think the idea of following students' passions is the way forward. Not all teachers are tech savvy. They can still be excellent teachers, but will they be overwhelmed or afraid or no longer wanted with so many changes? Yeah, that's a good point. I think that we probably need to have some sort of litmus test. I think in terms of onboarding new staff in particular, because not having technical skills at this point, it's doing a bit of a disservice to teachers, but it's not to students per se, but it's not. I don't think it's people that I think if teachers aren't afraid and they just give things a go, then it's all right. It's those people that say, I don't want to learn anything new. Like the amount of times I've heard that in school walls is just mind blowing. So we need to get rid of that mindset altogether. What's your favorite education initiative at the moment? So I was talking about this with Karen just earlier. So it's from Elon Musk's school that he's built over in the States. So I was just listening to a podcast and it's amazing. Like they're doing this thing called synthesis. So I think if you go to synthesis.is, basically constructed a curriculum where they pit students against each other. It's like problem-based learning, but without knowing that they're against each other. And basically, the premise is they will organize themselves into teams and figure out this game. So it's like gamification of problem-based learning, but they don't give them any rules. And the whole system, it sounds like it's made for students from I think from 6 to 14. But the really fascinating thing that I gleaned from that was the students that were older, so adults or anyone sort of older than 15, failed compared to the younger students, the way they've set it up. So it's quite interesting. So check that out if you have time. Do you think the legacy education system will be around much longer? No, I don't. I think it's definitely. I mean, we've had a number of, like, I mean, being innovative, you don't get you don't get a pat on the back a lot of the time. You get berated and into trouble with stuff, unfortunately, with the department guys and as well. But I think recently we've had a bit of that with our school, and but I can see that as the legacy system in its death throes, to be honest. Like the students aren't happy with it anymore, and I think parents don't want it, and I think a lot of forward-thinking teachers are sick of the teaching to a test and having a curriculum put upon you that's not relevant. So I think yes, it's definitely going to go. Anyway, looks like the last question. No, that was it.
Right. Would just like to let you know there'll be polling questions coming up very soon, and go for it. Have a good look at it. We appreciate your feedback and the questions you put forward. And I'll just leave it over to Kieran to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being
Awesome.
with us.
Looking forward to seeing everyone in July.